Welcome to the Bullpen. In the Bullpen today, we have conservative radio personality, WSB, host of Word on the Street, Mr. Shelley Wynter. Shelley, good day, welcome.
Welcome, thank you for having me, Rashad. Thank you very much. My apology. Thank you for having me, Dr. Richey.
Come on, man, we've known each other for years, brother. You have never called me Dr. Richey. Stop flexing in front of people.
Out of respect, Dr. Richey.
All right, Shelley, so we're gonna discuss a few items. January 6th being investigated, and also we'll get to the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. But let me start with the reality of Republicans saying no to an investigation of what happened on January 6th. Now, let me provide some context. Naturally, what happened on January 6th was an insurrection. It was violent, it was criminal, and it happened on federal soil. It happened with lawmakers on the premises. This is something that universally should be nonpartisan. So Democrats, even though they control the House, Democrats control the Senate, Democrats control the presidency, they said, let's have a true bipartisan commission. Let's have a 5 Republican, 5 Democrat commission to investigate what happened on January 6th. Now remember Benghazi? They investigated Benghazi. They didn't care about bipartisan support to investigate Hillary Clinton. And I agree, Hillary Clinton deserved to be investigated over what happened in Benghazi. It was avoidable based on the evidence that came out. They had multiple hearings, I think 31 or 32. They spent over $7 million of my taxpayer dollars, your taxpayer dollars. But they're saying no to a January 6th investigation. Give me some background as to why you think your Republican colleagues are saying no to this kind of investigation.
I think that several reasons. One, the same reasons Democrats did not really take seriously the Benghazi investigation. Any political party is not going to investigate itself. No one's going to open themselves up to that. And the reason for it is because the Republicans know that this was a bad look. And they also know that the Democrats would take it and run with it to be something more than what it really was. It was 400 to 500 crazy lunatics who ran into the Capitol. People forget that there were tens of thousands of people at that rally who didn't do anything. They were just there to hear the president speak, and at President Trump's last rally as president. Tens of thousands of people. I had several listeners who were up at the rally, and when we called them to ask them if they were okay, they were saying to us, "What are you talking about? There's just a bunch of people on a mall now talking to each other because the president stopped speaking." So the idea that we're going to do this forward, if you want to do an investigation, do it, but it'd be no more or no less political than the Benghazi one was.
Well, let me correct you on something.
The Benghazi investigation was simply to attack Hillary for 2.
All right, your feed is going in and out, but I got the gist of what you were saying. So let me correct you on something. One, the Benghazi investigation did actually have a bipartisan committee connected to it. Now, Democrats did say and complain that they felt as if their voices were not heard on this committee. It ended up producing an 800-page report. But remember, Democrats were involved in the investigation. And some prominent Democrats came out against what Hillary Clinton did in Benghazi and said it was avoidable. So all of these elements that were there during the Benghazi investigation have all of a sudden evaporated under Republicans. There was more bipartisan support of the investigation under Hillary Clinton's leadership during her time as Secretary of State than it is today. So you cannot say they are both the same, brother, because today you got zero support from Republicans. It is 100% politicized.
That's my point. Both of them were politicized. The Republicans were not interested in finding out what happened in Benghazi. They already knew what happened in Benghazi. An outside government action attacked our embassy. They already knew that's what happened. The whole idea.
We didn't have all the information.
Well, the whole idea about a Benghazi investigation was to target Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, to harm her when she ran for president. That was all of it.
But come on, brother, let me submit something else to you.
You know that was all of it.
Let me submit something else to you.
Well, hold on. My point is that all investigations are partisan. So the Republicans are saying we don't want a partisan investigation that's going to harm us. Whether you're going to say that's fair, not fair, whatever,
you just
politics.
Said it's not fair.
And it's totally understandable. I would do the same thing.
Let me take you somewhere else. And brother, I don't know what's going on with your feed, man. We need to get that corrected though. Let me remind you that they are not there to serve other politicians. They are not there to simply serve the agenda of the political left or the political right, but actually American citizens that have an agenda that they voted in. You don't vote in people, you vote in agendas. So yeah, they politicized Benghazi, but there was some there. It needed to be investigated. Now, after it was investigated, yes, it was politicized. They kicked the dead horse, so to speak, but it needed to be investigated. It needed to be transparent. Now, today, we had an attack, brother, on the US Capitol. These individuals are terrorists. Now, I don't care what you claim they are terrorists by definition. We should investigate that. We should investigate that. And if you're telling me that, well, Republicans are just playing politics, well, you have already indicted Republicans for not upholding the US Constitution. When you say that, you are publicly saying that Republicans are not upholding the Constitution by playing politics with this investigation against the US, against the attack on the US Capitol.
You could say it however you want to say it. This US attack on the Capitol, yeah, you could say all of those things.
But what was it,
entirely right. It was an attack on a US Capitol by QAnon forces.
No, by terrorists.
The crazy.
I don't care what
by terrorists. Right, sorry.
They were terrorists.
Right, by terror. They were domestic terrorists who attacked the Capitol, and now you want to have an investigation.
Yep.
And I have no problems with that. I'm telling you, I have no problems with that investigation. But you have to understand, your investigation and you wanting an investigation has less to do with finding out what you will call the truth, because you already know the truth. A bunch of terrorists attacked the Capitol.
I don't know everything.
You do know everything.
No, I don't.
You know
I don't know what other professional members were involved.
You know the mayor of Washington, D.C. turned down federal help from Donald Trump's White House 4 days before. You do know that the Capitol Police did not see any harm in these people at the forefront. You do know that the Capitol Police and the Washington, D.C. police force was totally overwhelmed and said they were going to be overwhelmed when they saw the numbers of people coming. You do know for a fact that the law enforcement apparatus of the Capitol, Washington, D.C. police, and the federal police force also knew that they had no idea.
Here's what I don't know.
Hold on, let me finish. That
Shelley,
these people are going to run up into the Capitol. I'm not. I'm telling you what you do know.
But here's what I don't know.
Tell you what you do know.
Well, and that's fine. I know some of that.
You know that Trump was involved?
Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't
Trump
know.
Involved?
See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're going to get it, though.
All right, go ahead.
You ready for it? Here's what I don't know. I don't know what members of Congress were involved in helping some of these terrorists attack the Capitol. I don't know which members of Congress were complacent in making sure that there was access, as Congressman Hank Johnson and others have illustrated in their own proclamation about the knowledge of these attackers on January 6th. Here's what else we don't know. There's a funding apparatus that needs to be explored. Was this funded by an organized effort on any level? Also, we don't know all of the violence that took place. The Department of Justice, they're leaking information. You have one video here, one video there, but we don't know the fullness of this investigation, and we never will unless there's a congressional investigation that allows for a full comprehensive report over what happened. And brother, at the end of the day, damn it, if we can say we need to know everything that happened on 9/11, if we can say that, and say it proudly and boldly and authentically, why would we then all of a sudden say, wait a minute, we don't need to know the terrorist attack that happened at the US Capitol? Is it because the folks that attacked us in 9/11 were brown and the folks that attacked the country on January 6th were white? That's the only difference, brother. Both of them are terrorist attacks. One you're saying should have been investigated, and the other one, you're okay with Republicans telling you there's nothing to see over here. Man, challenge your party to do the right thing, Shelley. Right. Come on, man.
Let me say this. First of all, you're making a comparison to This is totally obscene, Rashad, and you're smarter than this. You're making a comparison to 3 planes killing 3,000 people in a matter of minutes to 300 people running up into a Capitol. And here's what's baffling to me. The whole police brutality crowd, I see none of them coming to the defense of this white woman that was shot point blank by one guy. They don't even release the name of the police officer that shot her. So I don't even understand any of that.
Let me respond to that. Number one, you just agreed in theory that both are terrorist attacks. Did you not? Did you not just agree on this show?
I said yes. I said that a long time ago. Come on, man, don't do that.
So these are terrorist attacks.
I said that a long time ago.
No, I'm going to do that, Shelley. Shelley, it has been done.
And I also said.
And I also said, let me offer the rebuttal, brother. I allowed you to say what you wanted to say.
There's no rebuttal in rehashing what I said. All I'm saying is, yes, it was a terrorist attack.
I'm making a point, brother. You don't get to make my point for me on my show.
Okay.
Shelley, I'm gonna let you finish. You finish. You ready for this?
No. I'm saying yes, it was a terrorist attack. Yes, there should be an investigation.
Since we both agree.
I wouldn't. If I were a Republican congressman, I wouldn't be biting at the bit to have an investigation either.
And that's fine.
Those are my points.
I'm glad that you actually admit the truth that these individuals are not upholding the Constitution that they swore to. So here's the reality of it. The reality is you did admit on this program that what happened on January 6th was in fact a terrorist attack. Now you said that somehow I should be smarter than to suggest that if we investigate domestic terrorism on the 9/11 Commission, that we should also investigate domestic terrorism or terrorism, period, as it relates to January 6th. What I say, what I believe is that we should investigate both with the same vigor, with the same exact resources, if not more. And here's why. Domestic terrorism does not exist in a silo, brother. No terrorism exists in a silo. It all exists by way of radicalization, promotion, protection, and continued efforts by those who have been, those who now have an ideology that's hell bent on destruction to make a political point. So if you look at terrorism from that point of view, which by the way is the root definition of terrorism and the statutory language of terrorism, that means what happened on January 6th is not an isolated incident, and it will not be an isolated incident. Now you have to investigate what connectional factors were involved and who are these people and what other elements will they bring to America or to other governments. Man, before this, remember they tried to kidnap a damn governor. Come on, brother. You're telling me that you're okay with Republicans saying we don't need to investigate these folks?
No, listen. So this is my point, Rashad. We have an FBI who've already investigated these folks. We have an FBI who's already tracking these folks. We have a domestic police intelligence force who's already tracking these people, many of which were already inside of those doors. We found out from the Proud Boys report that the Proud Boys guys is a snitch, basically. So we already have a domestic police.
So you're saying you have enough information?
So come on, man, let me finish. Please,
I don't have unlimited time, Shelley, but that's what you're saying.
I know, but so let me finish. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you're trying to make a political point with this idea that we need to find out who the domestic terrorists are.
That's not a political point. That's a policy point. I want to have a comprehensive policy in this country to stop domestic terrorists in the future, even if they happen to be white people. That's what I would like, and you can't get there without an investigation.
I don't care.
Well, I do. I damn sure care about the color.
I don't care.
Let me tell you why the color.
I don't care about what color terrorist is.
I'll respond to that when you finish.
Because the terrorist is only gonna blow me up and try and kill me. They don't care what color my color is. So if a terrorist wants to come after Rashad Richey, it's not because he's left, Democrat, black, or anything else. And if they come after me, it's not because I'm conservative or black or anything else. A terrorist is a thug, is a criminal. So these are all, I don't care about domestic versus international terrorism.
Let me give you some insight, brother. Do you consider the KKK, Ku Klux Klans to be terrorists?
Absolutely. I also consider the Crips, the Bloods, and the GDs to be terrorists.
That's fine.
So let's keep going. You want to go? I mean, that's the point.
Brother,
of the
this
silly
is a
point
simple
of what
question,
right
brother.
Now.
This is a simple question. Do you consider the KKK to be terrorists?
I said yes. I said yes.
In that terrorist organization, does it matter to you in that scenario that you're black and they are white? Does that matter to you then?
Yeah, sure. I don't know the analogy you're making.
Well, here's the analogy. You just said you don't care what color terrorists are, or you don't care, brother.
I don't care. A terrorist is a terrorist. Sorry,
I'm making the point that race-based terrorism exists. It has existed since the dawn of this country, which means it's important to understand the race of the terrorists as well, because the white faces, come on, brother, the white faces that attacked the Capitol on January 6th, they received a level of protection because no one took it seriously that they were going to actually try to overthrow the election. You know why? Because their skin was the wrong color for the narrative, brother. That's why. But I guarantee you, if their last names would have been Muhammad, and if they would have been black and brown, every law enforcement agency would have taken the chatter on social media, the phone calls being tapped, and the intelligence that they had from undercover officers seriously. But they did not take it seriously. And the only thing that was different, Shelley, was the fact that these were white men basically organizing a terrorist attack right under the nose of the federal government. And you don't think the fact that they're white matters?
I didn't. Now, see, first of all, what I said was you're smarter than that, was to compare this to 3,000 people dying on 9/11.
I didn't compare it. Come on, don't do that. No, you don't get to do that.
No, I get to do that. That's what I was making a comparison to.
Stop it, brother.
Because you brought up, hold on, brother.
Shelley.
See, I can't talk.
No, you damn sure won't get away with that.
I'm gonna start calling you Joy Reid.
I did not compare, and you are silly enough to think that's an insult. I will not let you compare the carnage. See, I didn't compare the carnage, brother. I did not compare the carnage. I compared the aspect of terrorism and the dangers of terrorism, not the carnage.
And I disagreed with that. And I never disagreed with that. And I told you there's no difference between domestic and international. I said that. Now you're going into why the color matters in this.
But you don't think the reason why January 6th?
Finish.
But Shelley,
can you let me finish?
I already said that they were white males. Do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, you just admitted.
I was at the Black Lives Matter, of the original one where they had snipers on the roofs for us, and I was out there and I saw them on the roofs. I saw the police involvement. I saw the undercover police walking around. So that's not up for question right now. I said to you originally, this was terrorism. I said to you originally that it should be investigated. I also said that if I'm a Republican Party congressman, I probably wouldn't want it investigated, just like the Democrats did not want Benghazi investigated, because at the end of the day, it's going to be more of a political investigation and not a search for the truth, because they already know the truth. They already know.
I don't know everything that happened. We got to shift gears, brother.
Yes,
we got to shift gears. Okay,
that's all I'm saying. I said that several times.
You did admit that the white skin of these terrorists is part of the reason they did not have law enforcement take them seriously to attack the Capitol, correct?
The fact that they got that, the fact that they were to smash windows tells you everything.
Okay, all right, so you agree with me.
That's a narrative that we cannot disagree on.
All right, good.
Come on,
I mean, I'm glad you saw the light finally in this conversation. Let me take you to the George Floyd Policing and Policing Act. Let me take you to that, brother. All right, so Republicans universally are saying no to this act. Here's my question to any conservative that does not challenge their party to do this, to actually look at this act.
How long? I'm sorry.
Okay, what am I doing, Shelley? Go ahead, brother. What am I doing?
No, I'm saying we say these things as blanket statements. They're against the act. No, they're not against the act.
What are they against?
Most Republicans, qualified immunity is what they're pushing back.
Well, let's talk about that.
And right, and now this is a tricky thing, and this is not an either or. Qualified immunity is not an either or, because it will disrupt policing if you allow every ambulance chasing lawyer to sue on behalf of their victim or the culprit, whatever you want to call the person arrested, every time. So qualified immunity has to be reformed. Hear me clearly as a conservative. Qualified immunity has to be reformed. We have to reform police, but Republicans that are against the George Floyd Act, they're not against police reform. They're against the taking away of qualified immunity, because you're going to turn police officers into almost doctors. We have to have more insurance to be a police officer.
I'm glad you brought that up.
To be a police officer.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because you just made my point. You see, qualified immunity, number one, was created by Southern states. Actually, Dixiecrats created qualified immunity laws to provide a barrier of protection between white officers who bashed in the heads of young civil rights leaders in the South. They wanted to make sure that when, let me continue, brother. It doesn't matter, or they didn't want it to matter if constitutional rights were violated. They wanted to make sure these cops had a protection from personal liability. Absolutely. So that is the origin, right? And you already know this, that's the origin of it. So think about the irony of this. The origin of it was to make sure that they could not be held personally responsible for violating the constitutional rights of a citizen, primarily a black citizen. And how is it used today, brother? It is still a barrier to limit their personal responsibility for how they deal with constitutionally violating a citizen in today's world. Now, here's what happened. Here's what really happened, Shelley. I want you to follow the logic here. It's because you gave them this immunity. It's because you did not regulate the industry through a check and balance system like a medical professional or a psychiatrist or even a university professor. You did not provide the same level of liability. So what were they able to do? They operated as if they had immunity, brother, because they did have immunity. The only thing that would have regulated that, but wait, let me finish. The only thing that would have regulated that would have been tort law. That's the ability to not only sue them professionally, but sue them personally, because there's real accountability beyond the professional standard. Now you have immunity to that accountability, and they have run amok. It is out of control.
But you know why that is, Rashad? The difference is you're comparing a doctor leaving a sponge in your stomach during an operation to a man who's trying to arrest someone for possibly have committed a crime or possibly not. So my point here is, as a fair-minded, normal conservative who sees the world as it really is, not as the left purports it should be. What I'm saying is it's a total difference to have tort law opened and have police officers opened up to the being targeted by lawsuits than it is to compare that to a doctor or a medical professional. It's totally different because by definition, the police are going after people who don't want to be caught. Now, caught up in that are people who are innocent, and we understand that. So there's got to be reform to qualified immunity. And again, I'm going back to your original question. I need you to understand this before you go off into the weeds on me. The fact is, Republicans are not against the George Floyd Policing Act. They're against certain aspects of it. One of those aspects of it is getting rid of wholly qualified immunity and not reforming it more to what you're saying. History notwithstanding, the fact of the matter is you cannot have people who are in charge of arresting people for potentially committing crimes not being able to arrest people for committing crimes and have the danger of that person who's been arrested saying, I skinned my knee, I'm gonna sue this municipality and the officer for millions of dollars. We have people who make money on civil rights cases now.
Well, let me tell you where you're wrong. All right, we only have 2 minutes left. Let me tell you where you're wrong at. I'll go to law school if this is getting ready. Okay, well, I'm not a lawyer. I just did, by the way, finish my first year of law school.
I would go now.
So I know a little bit.
If you get rid of qualified immunity right now, I jump into law school and chase.
Let me tell you where you're wrong at, Shelley. Let me tell you where you're incorrect. Qualified immunity has created such a barrier that it eliminates personal responsibility in the profession. This has hurt the profession. Let me finish my point now. You talked a long time. This has hurt the profession, Shelley. Please, brother. This has hurt the profession of policing overall. Medical doctors, the reason why they are held to a higher standard of accountability is called the standard of care, is because they have extreme public trust placed in them. The reason why psychiatrists are held to a higher standard of accountability is because they have extreme public trust placed in them. Being a police officer is the only professional position in America where you literally have public trust placed in you, but you're held to a lower standard of accountability. Even those that take an oath to serve outside of policing, for example, a politician has a higher level of accountability and can be charged with violating their oath of office for doing something that will be perfectly legal for you to do. But a police officer has a lower standard of accountability. Brother, this is fundamentally wrong, and you know it. We got 30 seconds. I'll let you get the last word.
I never said it wasn't. I said it just has to be reformed. I never denied that. I just said you can't take it away fundamentally and just wipe it off the books and leave cops open to just frivolous lawsuits, which we see every day.
The lawsuit only is valid. The lawsuit is only valid if a constitutional right was actually violated. Shelley, how can people follow you on social media?
Shelley Wynter on Facebook, spelled SHELLEYWYNTER. Follow me there. Go Hawks, believe.
Brother, I appreciate you, man. I'll be watching that Hawks game with you tonight, man. I appreciate you, big homie. Brother. Love you back, homie.
Uncle Tom was a hero, my brother.
Man, damn. I just said you were my friend, brother. Then you had to end with that.